so I am a hiker. I'm a big hiker. I really only got into hiking when I through hiked the AT in 2021. I did a typical 6 month through hike. And after that, I moved to Asheville, North Carolina, and became a hiking guide. And mostly just like to do adventure runs and hikes around here, which I got into because I became a guide and just wanted to explore the trails and learn them, uh, to guide people on them. But I've always loved the AT. I met Warren actually on my first AT hike, and hit it off with him. And the company I guide for is Blue Ridge Hiking Company, which was founded by Jennifer Farr Davis, who's a AT record person. And there's just a lot of people who have come through that company who are have just got the endurance bug. So I also got the bug, and um, and I went out to kind of do the AT in an endurance style both in 2024 and this past summer 2025. So
All right, cool.
yeah, so that's kind of me.
Yeah, so did you did Tara Dower work at Blue Ridge at the same time that you were there?
No, she was the caretaker at our bunkhouse, before I came through. So I didn't get to work with her, but I know her a little bit, and she's also, of course, been a huge inspiration for me. So
Yeah. So I remember in 21, I think I had an attempt that ended on the front area in Hot Springs.
uh-huh.
Were you at that location?
Yeah, I would have been around there. Well, I guess 21 I had been through hiking, so um, I know we've been out on the ATs a few years at the same time, so
Yeah.
but I've never run into you. Of course, I've heard about you though.
Yeah.
Um, but but no, I would have been through hiking in 21, but 22 through 25 I worked at the hiking company
Oh,
in
okay. Yeah. Yeah, because like the night that my attempt ended in 21, I remember like knocking on the door of the hiking company and someone answered and said it would be okay if we camped there. So I was
Oh,
just
okay.
trying
Well,
to figure out who that was.
yeah, I'm not sure who that would have been at that
Yeah.
time, but yeah, that was a year before I came.
Yeah. All right. So like you done the AT as a through hike in 21, and then you said you were out there last year and this year. So what did you do last year and this year?
So I I was just trying to see how fast I could backpack it. So I was going for Heather Anderson's record, 54 days for self-supported. Um,
Yeah.
Kind of both times. In 24 though, I just was doing it kind of more for fun. I was just like, let's just see. I didn't really think I had any chance of finishing really, but I ended up finishing last year 24 in 63 days. Um, so it'd been like 35 miles a day. And then after I finished it, at first I was like, I'm never doing that again. That was terrible. But then I thought, like, well, if I really trained and did my logistics a little better, because I was shocked really that I was able to even finish. So then I went out. I got the bug again this past year, and I went out for it, and I made it as far as Watauga Lake coming south. So a little over three-quarters of the way, and got knocked off. I got a foot infection, so I ended
Oh,
up calling it, because I got pretty sick from that. So
yeah. So when you say you were like surprised you finished last year, but you did a whole through hike in 21 though.
yeah, well, I was surprised I finished because I was trying to do it in endurance style where I was like really pushing myself,
Ah, okay.
and I had never done anything of that length. I really had never. I was a new to ultra running too, so I just was like I'm kind of beginner at that rate in terms of the endurance sport of it.
Ah,
Um, so, but yeah, in 21 I just did like a really typical through hike. It took me 6 months to do it then.
yeah. So like actually Watauga Lake, just after that at Carver's Gap is where my attempt ended this year going south. So not far after where you were. Like I remember
Uh-huh.
past Watauga Lake. And so foot infection, yeah, I mean, that's the thing when you're doing self-supported, like you got to look after your feet. You know, you don't have a
Oh,
crew or
for sure.
anything. So, I mean, what kind of foot infection did you have? Was it just one foot or both feet? And tell me about that.
Yeah, so I was doing pretty well up until it would have been the day after the Triple Crown of Virginia, like Dragon's Tooth and all that through there. During that day, I think my insole of my shoe had rolled up in the top of my shoe, um, and was just rubbing on my foot, and I got this giant blister that I didn't really notice all day because I was just going and didn't, there's always things hurting or bothering you, just kind of push through. But that night I noticed that I got this big blister from the insole had rolled up, and then for about a week after that, it just kept getting worse, and I wasn't able to kind of care for it in the way that I should have. And by the time a week had passed, I was like, um, I was getting, it was clear that the infection was like spreading and I was actually getting sick. So I got some antibiotics in Hampton there, and then I really wasn't able to continue after that.
Okay, so did you pop the blister when you first got it? Like, what was
Yeah,
your?
yeah. I would drain it every night and just
Ah,
like wrap it up with what I had. Of course, I was low on first aid supplies too, so I wasn't in and I was trying to make up miles, so I was trying to triage it and give it as much care as I could, but also I needed sleep at that point. I was pretty sleep deprived, so I was like trying to manage those couple things. And but yeah, I popped it and then I would drain it every night. And by the end of that week, when it just kept getting worse, the night that I really was like, I got a problem, I got to go into town and get medicine, was my whole sock was full of pus. Like, but I just peeled off the first little bit of my sock, and it just pus started pouring out of the sock. So I was like, yeah, I got a problem. I gotta fix this. So
yeah. Okay. So, like at that point, you, you were like going against Heather Anderson's, say, 54-day record.
yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was going for again this summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And were you keeping like a tally? Like, how did you keep a tally on like where you were against the record and so on? And I forget, or if I'm not, what direction did Heather go?
She went south as well.
Oh, okay. So were you able to like wake up each day and say, okay, I'm X amount ahead or behind of the record and stuff?
I mean, not really. I think I I mean, I made myself like a goal itinerary of where I thought I wanted to be, like ahead of time, and I knew this. Well, I was planning on the southern miles obviously being quicker than up north, um, so I. But then again, it's so hard mentally because for me anyway, I'm just always down on myself out there, feeling like I'm behind, even though I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
So I think my partner was back home, and I would talk to her on the phone every now and again, and she would tell me, uh, how like where I was and how I was doing. But in general, I tried to compare myself against the miles that I had set out for myself that I wanted to make, and I was probably a day behind that, but I was probably still on pace for the record until I got this the foot injury.
Yeah. Okay. Well, like it's really interesting to. So I come from a supported record attempt background, but only because I helped Carol Sabe with his as being part of his support. So I kind of fell into that world, of
Right,
things.
yeah.
But I'm really interested in the. I think the self-supported is in a way kind of more adventurous because you're like one of my favorite nights on trail were always the nights when I had to camp away from the crew. So like kind of do, like what was your day like from when you woke up in the morning um, to when you went? Did you have any kind of structure because you're out there by yourself? So did you have any way of kind of measuring? Did you have any routines that would kind of structure your day in any kind of way?
Um, yeah, I guess I tried to wake up at a certain time, or like I don't know. I think more structure would have been helpful. A lot of it's just like trying to make it, trying to get by, try to survive kind of a thing. Um, but I think I did usually plan for like a longer break in the middle of the day that was kind of like a lunch or like a benchmark for the day. Um, and I've I think I ended up probably every 2 hours I would like stop briefly and just like make sure I was okay for water and food. But I don't know. I think it varied, and the time that I woke up, I was trying to stay consistent with, but sometimes I felt like I needed a little bit more sleep than other days if I was like starting to wobble on trail or something like that. So it didn't stay super consistent either. Um, but yeah, so I think probably that midday break was most of the structure that I had. Um,
Yeah.
and then like I know the trail well, having hiked it twice before, so I would just plan to like I would measure myself against like if I can get to certain landmark at this time that will feel good for the day or something like that.
And what time did the time change each day that you were waking up, or did you have like a goal time that you wanted to kind of wake up and get started?
Um, I guess it did change. Usually, I guess usually at 4 I would wake up or
Mm.
so, and then try to be out 4:30. I don't know that I always really uh accomplished that, but that was the goal.
Yeah. And what was your like sleep setup? You know, did you have to break down a tent, or were you doing a bivvy or shelters or everything?
Yeah, I had a solo Z-Pack Soloplex tent,
Oh,
so it was like a one person Dyneema tent. And towards the end I sometimes wouldn't set it up and would just like cowboy camp. And also it broke in the middle of the hike too this time, so it ended up being just more of a tarp. Like the net part of it broke. But yeah, and then sometimes I would just cowboy camp. But up north, I would set up the tent just because the weather.
yeah.
Sometimes you need it for that, but
You know, I always found that with the cowboy camping, because I did quite a large section hike as well. You know, you might go to bed and the sky's kind of clear, but then 2 o'clock in the morning, some clouds come out and it starts raining. So it's kind of hard to know. It's a bit of a gamble. You
yeah,
know,
it is. It's a risk. Yeah.
yeah, but it is a lot more kind of quick and cleaner way of doing stuff. Did you have like with your pack kind of were you like purely hiking, or did you do any like light jogging or anything like that?
Early on, I did tiny bit of jogging, like in Maine in the 100 mile, and then uh, some, I guess, some in the Northeast when the flat stretches. But vast majority was hiking for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And you say like one of the insoles rolled up, or and that's what created the blister, which created the. Do you want to share like what brand that was, or do you want to keep that to yourself?
Oh, no, and probably it might not have even been the insole for the right, like the shoe. I had a hodgepodge of shoes I was working with, so
Ah,
um,
yeah.
but but yeah, I think, and then I think actually I went to the Kroger in Daleville because I think that kept happening, like the insole kept rolling up, and then I bought like these like grocery store insoles like Dr. Scholl's or something because I thought that would help, but then those kept moving around in the shoe and they made it a lot worse. So, um, yeah, but I don't know. I don't really necessarily blame the insoles or anything. I just didn't manage it well. I probably could have like duct taped them down or something like that, but
Yeah. So I guess I experienced the insoles moving with ultra shoes. When
hmm
I spend a lot of time in Thailand each year, and there's like quite a lot of steep descent on kind of
hmm
single track, almost like fire roads. So it's not that technical, but you are going down steep. And when it rains, the insole always slips towards the front of the shoe and then bundles 2 or 3
yeah,
times. and I literally have to stop, just like try and get out the bundles, put my foot back in and lace it up tight so my foot's close down. So I
Yeah.
kind of experienced what you've experienced where those insoles bundle up, but it hasn't
Mm,
happened to me a whole lot. But mostly when it's raining, like really heavy rain. So I guess
yeah.
it can be a problem. How did you feel, when you finally had to call it, you know?
Oh, I was torn up. I was, yeah. I was really sick at that point, and I think the people in my life were trying to tell me, like, there's a point at which you gotta take care of yourself, um, and I agreed at that point. I really wasn't able to keep going, um, and probably at that point I wouldn't have got the record anyway because my miles were slipping, was I was limping on my foot. Um, so I was really bummed to have to get off. But it's okay. It's like such a fun adventure and like really cool to have the opportunity to try something like that. So I was
Yeah.
okay with it, and I was happy to heal up pretty quick after that too. So
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Like in the during the attempt, that's a major problem, foot infection. But in life, it's a very small, like if you have like some tendonitis, or some bone bruising, that's a big problem in life. Like I actually fell and bruised my ribs the other day on the mountain over here, and like a week later, the pain's still there. But a foot infection, just heals up quick off trail. So, not that I've had a foot. I'm just kind of guessing.
yeah, I think it's probably 2 weeks for the infection to go, and then my feet in general took a few months. But the infection, I think with the antibiotics and rest, and staying off of it, it was pretty cleared up in 2 weeks.
Yeah. That's one of the things when I've been on trail, like I've always taken care of my feet and I've pretty much had, no problems, but that's only because I've been supported. And I just wondered to myself, like, how do you look after your feet? Like, because I guess what was the most amount of time you were doing before you resupplied? Not
The long,
like days or miles or something. You could measure it that way.
yeah, the longest resupplies were around 160 miles, so it would have been like 4 days or so.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
So what
that's
I'm
the longest.
guessing is like, so the most you had, and I'm gonna guess that every resupply you had a new pair of socks.
Not everyone, but probably every other one or so. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like, what was it like when did your feet ever get wet and you have to wear wet socks for like 3 days?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're wet pretty much the whole time. You just kind of, I think like, yeah, I kind of this so far before this, I was just my mindset was like that's just part of it and how you do it of like even when you clean the socks like you rinse them in in a stream like out in a stream or something and they're going to be wet so your feet are just pretty much wet all the time at least that's how I was doing it um but that's not helpful especially when you if you have any kind of open sore on the yeah, I could go with like the wet feet um like the prior year I was okay with it just because I didn't have any like open sores or anything on my feet. But then the second you do have something like that, it becomes a problem because there's all kinds of dirt and water and bacteria that'll get in there. So
Do you think like let's say this is I don't know, this is just me trying to think of a solution. Like let's say you had two pairs of socks and you're wearing a wet pair and they get really like dirty and then you wash them in a stream, squeeze them out, put on the dry pair of socks, hang your wet socks on your pack. Obviously, it depends how thick the sock is. Like I noticed the ultra thin down sock dries pretty quick, but the medium, like actually, or the light takes a lot longer to dry. What would you change? Is there anything that you would like try to change in order to avoid that situation again in the future?
yeah, I would do that because I only carried one pair of socks with me, and I would just switch them out. So the two pairs and dry in one, I would do that, and then I would also just have a little bit more first aid stuff
Yeah.
related to the feet because just in the event that I did get a blister that like opened up because I really didn't have the right supplies to wrap the thing so that it would be protected from getting infected. So I would do that too, but probably those two things.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so like I'm really interested in like the logistics stuff. So let's say you finished your day. Did you kind of like have a planned like a stealth spot, or did you kind of go by spontaneous seeing a flat spot for you to set up your tent, and then like tell me exactly like what you did. I find it so interesting, like this like routine procedure like how did so yeah so talk us through like when you're getting close to the end of the day, what time of day that was, and then what your routine was, including like did you eat your dinner on the move, or did you eat what was your dinner and stuff like that.
Um, yeah, so I think like I said going into it, I made a list of like where I ideally my ideal itinerary, like where I would want to camp every night, and I of course didn't stick to that. I would have liked to have, but I didn't but I had like ideas of I guess up until probably New Hampshire I did though. So I knew where I wanted to camp and I did camp there, so I had a sense of like okay, this is my spot I'm stopping at for the night. And then when I didn't have a spot that so when I got off the itinerary that I was like tracking towards, then I would think about like, okay, this is the amount of miles I think I need for the day. And then after I got that amount of miles, I would just look for a spot basically. Um, and if I knew that, because I probably had an idea of the trail and where there might be a decent spot to camp, so I would probably try to get to there or just like, yeah, take a stealth spot somewhere on the side of the trail. For dinner, I had one meal per day in my whenever I was able to send a box, which was most of the resupplies. I had a freeze dried thing in a Ziploc bag essentially to rehydrate. So I would do that. Sometimes I would eat that in the middle of the day actually, and then just do like tuna packets um, or just like bars or candy or something when I stopped for the night so that I could just go to sleep quicker. And I often felt like I needed the energy in the middle of the day. And towards the middle of the hike, I ended up switching to when I would eat my dehydrated meal in the middle of the day instead of at night. Um, but yeah, I had one meal per day, and then the rest was like um, tuna packets and trail mix and stuff like that.
So with that dehydrated meal, like how did you hike? Did you add water and then hike with it for a set
Yeah,
amount of time? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Usually was that like obviously you want to minimize the amount of like excess water you're carrying. So did you try to like say, okay, half an hour I'm gonna hide like how long did you hydrate the meals for?
Yeah, probably an hour or so. I mean, I guess I wasn't, but I probably could have gotten away with less. But yeah, after about an hour, it was usually okay to eat.
Like what meals were you eating? Was it crunchy pasta and stuff or
It was like some of it I had like a lot. Like one of the ones I had often was a dehydrated beans and dehydrated rice. I would just pour the water in and have a beans and rice meal. Um, And I had actually some good variety this time. I had like a pad thai one. Um, I had a few like actual freeze dried meals that I just like backpacker meals I just transferred into the different bags so that it'd be
yeah,
easy for me. But yeah, like pretty standard dehydrated backpacker meals.
yeah, because like I've got some backpacking meals. I've used them in the past, and some of them only have like 800 calories. Or is that similar to what like you had as well?
Yeah, probably wouldn't. Yeah, it probably between like between 500 and 1,000 they would be somewhere in there.
Yeah,
Um, that's I think one of the hardest. There's a lot of hard things about the self-support, but one of the hardest is to get enough food really to be all right and to have enough energy and to be mentally with it because you're just burning so many calories. It's tough to replenish them when you don't have so many opportunities to stop and refuel.
So, like, how many hours were you moving each day, and how many calories were you putting down each day?
I probably couldn't even tell you how many calories. I'd have to like tally it up. Like that's one thing I also think is important to do that I didn't really do is to like really um, add up the calories in advance and make sure you're getting a certain amount. Um, but I think I was moving 17 or 18 hours. It's probably 17 or 18 hours a day, and then I was I would assume I was getting like 4 to 5 thousand calories a day.
Wow.
Uh, Probably around 5,000. Yeah.
Did
So I
you did you start off one weight and then like finish another weight? Um, like, how much weight did you lose? Like, did you lose weight?
oh yeah, I lost 30 pounds.
Oh my
Um,
God. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
I mean, yeah, it's I mean, it's really hard to keep the weight on. It really is tough. So yeah, as much food as you can possibly eat and like as much weight as you could put on to begin with, I think is pretty key.
Was that like, because also you've done, so how many days did you complete the trail last year? Was it 63 you said?
63, yeah.
Yeah, so like what was that a similar scenario where you lost about 30 pounds as well over the course?
Yeah, it was similar. Yeah.
Okay.
I gained it back quick afterwards, but yeah, I think it was somewhere between 20 and 30 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you hear? I don't know. Like, I've watched a little bit of like what Jeff Garmire did. I think he resupplied 8,000 calories a day. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know how much weight he lost. I don't think it was that amount, but it sounds like 5,000 calories a day is definitely going to be in the like lower side of things. You know, for sure. Would you change? Do you think you would try to like change the amount of calories you packed for yourself next time, or were you kind of good with that?
Um, yeah, or I would just try to eat more, however that's possible. I think just as much as possible to eat, as much as possible to sleep is like really key. I think getting as much calories as I could in town. Sometimes my stomach didn't want to like down all this food right at one time, but I think you kind of have to do that.
Yeah,
Um, so
yeah. So yeah, that's a boost for sure. Like if you hit, how many times did you resupply this year before your foot stopped you?
um, I guess I gotta look at the list, but it probably a dozen at least.
Yeah. So I guess if you could eat 2,000 calories in town and you do a dozen resupplies, that's what, 24,000 calories on top of what you already had.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay, so you've had your rehydrated meal and like what so what do you do now in camp? Like do you set your tent up? Like what kind of mattress did you have? Was it closed cellar? Was it air? I mean, I don't know what you call it, like foam, one of those Z-Lite kind of things.
Yeah, I cut like I think I had a Nemo switchback foam one, and I would just cut it. I just cut it to where I could stick it as a back pad in my backpack, um, and I
Okay.
just had it to where it would just pad my torso that I would sleep on, and then
Yeah.
I had a quilt to use as a sleeping bag.
What weight was your quilt? Like sleep rating?
It was 20, which you can definitely get away with. You can definitely get away with like 35 or something like that. But I run cold, so
Yeah.
I use that as
Uh,
security.
Did you have any kind of like blow up air pillow or did you use your pack as a pillow or anything like that?
Yeah, I used my pack as a pillow, or like some clothes, like my windbreaker that I had. I would use that as a pillow. Sometimes I would want to keep my pack under my feet so I could elevate my feet.
Yeah, yeah. And how about like your? Did you bother with any like what do they call it, PCT hang, or did you stash your food away, or did you just like sleep with it in the? Did,
When if there was like a bear can or something where I could store it easily nearby, then I would do that. I did sleep with it, okay, like whenever I couldn't find something easy like that. I really I wasn't had didn't have my wits about. If I tried to hang my food in the dark like that without my wits about me, it wouldn't have gone well. So
yeah. No, I interviewed like Joe McConaughey, and he slept with his food,
yeah,
Um, and like when I was hiking with, like I went from Hanover to Katahdin, and pretty much all the hikers were just sleeping with their food. Some people hung their food. It depended, I guess, but it's not uncommon at all. Uh, so how about with the resupplies, or base weight, your pack? Did you have like a base weight or anything like that? In other words, the weight of your pack without any water or food?
yeah. I didn't weigh it beforehand, but it was definitely under. I think it was under 10 pounds, the base weight, somewhere around there.
Yeah,
And then with food and water and everything, it probably ended up usually being somewhere around between probably around 15 to 18 pounds I was
yeah,
carrying.
yeah. So I kind of guess it felt good as the days went by after the resupply, suddenly the weight's coming down, you know?
Sure, yeah, for sure. And I think a lot going south, like the longer resupplies are up north, so you gets lighter as you go.
Yeah, yeah. How much bad weather did you get like this year? Not much, or
Not much, really. I got a little bit through um Maine, through like the exposed parts of Maine, which I feel like is pretty typical. But I didn't really get. I remember last in 24, I got to tropical storm through the Shenandoahs. That was the worst weather I got. But this year, I didn't have much that was really so bad.
yeah. And how did you like stop people coming to? 'Cause, like I guess like self-supported and supported on the Appalachian Trail are totally different. So like with supported, you can pre-arrange support, but with self-supported, you're pretty much like a through hiker. You can receive trail magic. I guess if you wanted to hitch into town, what were your guidelines for self-supported to make sure you stayed within the FKT kind of rules?
Yeah, I tried to do what the two people I modeled mine after were Heather Anderson and Matt Kirk, who had uh, the record before her. I think that those two people, I read their books, and so basically they didn't go. Uh, I didn't get in any vehicles or like just walked to all the resupplies, and then I did take Trail Magic, and I also didn't stay in any hostels because that's except for one this time. Um, but the first time I definitely didn't. I tried to because that's what Heather did. She didn't stay in any hostels or anything.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, so just basically camping out every night and then walking to all your resupplies.
yeah. How did you get across the Kennebec?
I took the ferry. I waited. Uh, I waited in the morning that day, so I had a short mileage day because I didn't want to afford
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Um, so wow, I mean, it's just a crazy adventure. Like, are you kind of like, what age are you? How old are you?
I'm 29.
Yeah, 29. So you've got plenty of time to revisit if you want. Are you thinking about revisiting and in any way, shape or form the Appalachian Trail for anything? You don't,
I don't.
you don't have to say it as well. You don't have to say anything.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not. It's not on the calendar at the moment. I was bummed about how it ended this past time. So I'm like, and I still guide on the trail, and I'm on the trail all the time. So when I'm older, I might through hike or I might try for a record again or something, but it's not in the plans right now anyway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, so what would you change then? Like what in terms of I guess you had last year as an opportunity to change things for this year. So like start with that. What did you change from last year to this year? That was actually a positive change. And did you make any changes that didn't work out well and you kind of wish you did something else or stuck with what you did last year?
I mean, I definitely improved from the time before in terms of most things. Like I had my gear was a lot lighter, so I kind of figured out what I needed and didn't need. This past time, I took a lot less gear. My pack was smaller and everything was lighter, pretty much. Um, and the food, definitely ate more this time, even though I still didn't eat enough. I ate more and prioritize that better. Um, I think both years I really struggle with the sleep deprivation. That's one thing that I still didn't do the best at getting enough sleep. So that was, but probably did get a little bit more maybe than the prior year. But yeah, I think the lightweight gear was like in the pack weight was probably the biggest thing. And then also like I knew kind of where the resupplies were that I wanted to hit, which didn't change that much from the first year, but I was kind of more efficient with that because I knew a little bit more efficient with that because I knew where I wanted to go and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And with like changing things from last year, is there anything that just like what worked well that you just repeated? Like, did you kind of what went well for you that you wouldn't change? Things that you were quite proud about?
I think for the most part, the resupplies went really well. Like, I didn't miss really any boxes or anything. I kind of planned it to send the boxes to places that were really close to the trail and that were hostels for the most part that would be like available to give me my box when I was there, even if it wasn't like in the middle of the day or something. So the resupplies I think went really well, and the AT, the people on the AT are just so like amazing. Always, that's the best part of it. They're just whenever I would get to talk to the people at the hostels or they just are always so encouraging and like they really lift you up really well. Um, but I think probably, I guess that was probably the thing that went the best.
Yeah, yeah, the resupplies. I'm sure if you get that wrong, it can, really slow you down. Yeah.
Hmm.
So when you say sleep deprivation, like what kind of do you remember how much like sleep you had this year or you were getting?
Usually between 4 and 5 hours.
It's not much, is it?
No, I
And
think ideal amount would be 6, and I feel I would whenever I would get more than 5, you could totally feel a difference. I think that's a hard trade-off when you're especially when you're just hiking, is like what's the trade-off between how efficient you're gonna hike versus like with more sleep versus the time that you're losing with getting more sleep. So that's something to dial in and kind of test out.
yeah, yeah, I definitely found like this year when I was on trail, I had a lot of time on my feet, and when I had less than 5 hours sleep, I felt like I just felt it wasn't enough.
Hmm.
And when I was having like, I think 5.5 is almost the lower limits of, because the problem is when you don't have enough sleep, your pace slows, you know. So then you get less sleep. So it's like you need to balance the sleep to keep the optimal pace. Otherwise, yeah, you really, really do slow down. Did you have any awesome or unawesome like wildlife encounters out there?
Oh, the wildlife's one of my favorite things. I just love it's just so cool going so many miles in a day because you really do see so many animals and you see things in the dark in the morning and then you see things in the dark at night. But I really like Pennsylvania where they got all these porcupines. There's one day I saw like three porcupines. I saw a bear. I saw what I saw one other cool animal that day. But anyway, yeah, I think the porcupines in Pennsylvania are my favorite. I just don't get to see those very often. So, um,
Did Did you get to see any is it raccoons? Did you see any raccoons?
yeah, I saw some raccoons, a lot of skunk this year, actually. The skunk kind of freaked me out. I don't want to get sprayed. I already smell bad enough.
Yeah, yeah. How about rattlesnakes as well? You see?
Yeah, I had a close call with a rattlesnake this year. I feel like there's always, again in Pennsylvania, there's always rattlesnakes that are just basking in the sun in between the rocks there. And there
Yeah.
was one, I almost got one. I almost stepped on one but I managed to avoid it. That was a close one. But yeah, I feel like the handful of rattlesnakes and copperhead or two usually.
Yeah, actually, that brings me to asking, like, what did you do about like ticks? Because that's a tough one, like self-support. Like, I just finished again reading Scott Jurek's book, and his wife Jen every night did a tick check, and I mean, when I was on the Appalachian Trail, I didn't even bother with that. I look at my stomach, and I think I can't see any ticks, but you really, I mean, I guess you're at I mean, you can really not do a. Did you bother with the tick check, or it's hard? I mean, you can't really see the back of your legs and stuff.
Yeah, I think that there's certain parts of the trail where you want to expect them a little bit more, like Virginia, kind of Virginia and Pennsylvania. But and I would like when I take my socks off at night, I try to look just around my ankles because that's usually where I find them and try to see. Um, I would wear the shin sleeves too, so I would look on the shin sleeves and like see if there's any ticks on there. Um, and but that was really it. I think it is a risk, like because you can't do something super thorough, and especially in your hair stuff, you can't really
Mm.
um, do it super thorough. But I would look around my ankles and stuff when I take my socks off.
That's the other thing, like when you were cowboy camping, how did you navigate away from bugs? Did you have like a head net or anything?
No, we just embrace the bugs, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, because like the times that I camped out in shelters, especially in the Smokies, Tricorn and Ob Shelter, like both years I've been there, it was so hot I couldn't get in my sleeping bag to protect myself from the bugs. And then as soon as I pulled the sleeping bag down, I just got attacked by bugs. So like I think it was last year when I was going north, I actually got in my tent in the shelter, and I just got in my sleeping bag just to use the tent as a like a bug net and try to have the bug section over my face. And I was just so hot and uncomfortable. So you didn't come up with anything for that. You just did it.
Yeah, I think the best thing that for that is yeah, you really do have to like know what region you're in and like read the temperature and the bug situation before you decide you're going to cowboy camp because if you're going to cowboy camp and you're just going to be, attacked by bugs all night, that's you're not going to sleep either. So you might as well just set up your shelter at that point. So I think you do have to be mindful about that.
Yeah. Where did you gain your knowledge of what parts of the trail have bugs and what parts don't?
Just from hiking it, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome.
And it's
And
always going to be like at higher elevations, you're going to be better off with bugs usually or away from water.
yeah, I mean, that didn't work for me in the Smokies. Like, like even because it's kind of you're almost at the highest elevation on the
Yeah, that's
trail.
true. That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe a bug head net or something. So did you have any falls? Did you fall over and like I tripped a lot this year, and every single year I trip a lot, and I ended up wearing some gloves just to stop my hands from getting cut when I tripped. Did you trip a lot, or did you fall, or have any serious falls or anything like that?
Yeah, oh yeah, I trip all the time too. It's like it's feel like it's inevitable on the AT. I don't think I had anything really super serious that where I was like um I would just occasionally get scraped up or get banged up some, but nothing where I like really seriously injured myself from falling.
Yeah. So what is it that what so you're 29, you hiked in 21, so you were probably geez, you were like 25 years old when you did your first hike. Have you hiked any other trails besides the AT or
Yeah, yeah, I've hiked let's see what else I've hiked. Mostly stuff on the East Coast. I haven't done any of the things out west. But I've hiked a little bit internationally. I did a trail in Australia called the Australian Alps Walking Track, which is pretty remote, an interesting trail
yeah.
on the east side of Australia. Um, and then I've done um, like some of the more regional ones in the southeast here, like the Bartram Trail, the Foothills Trail, um, a lot of the Mountains to Sea Trail. I've done pretty much the whole mountain section in North Carolina of the Mountains to Sea Trail. Um, yeah, so a lot just in my region that I live in, and then a little bit internationally.
Yeah. And so like what is it that it gives you like when you're out on the trail, like you're obviously going there and you have a connection and it's something that's special to you. Like what is it like that what is it that takes you to the trails and like what's special about it? Like if someone's listening to this show and I don't know, they just watch Netflix and they've never been on a trail and stuff, like what is it that what connection do you have with nature or whatever it is?
Oh yeah, well for me, I didn't really have any kind of outdoor element to my um, upbringing, but I did really enjoy athletics. So we were a big basketball family, and I played basketball my whole life, and so I've always loved the movement element and just exercise and stuff like that. But then when I hiked the AT in 21, I just like it's just the whole world opens up to you when you spend time in nature. It's like you kind of realize that you're part of this big, beautiful world, and it's so special, and you just want to learn about all the critters and all the trees and all the plants, and um, there's just a sense of wonder and a real gratitude that instills in you for being part of this world. So I love that feeling, and I love that kind of the I don't know, just this you can always learn something from spending time in nature, whether it's about yourself or about the world. So I like that a lot. And then the endurance piece for me, just I love the combination of that whole environment with like pushing myself physically and have making an athletic effort. I think that's a really cool combination.
When I listened to Jeff recently on a podcast, he said that he broke his day into 3 hour cycles. So he reset whatever was happening, I guess, every 3 hours. You know, like if he didn't move a pace that he wanted to move, it would, be able to reset that on the next block or maybe eat more food or something like that. Um, uh, did you? When you're out there get lonely, and did you have a way to manage yourself emotionally when you're on the trail, mentally? Obviously physical is one thing, but then how did you navigate that emotional and mental piece, because you said 17 hours a day, that's like by yourself.
Yeah, that's for sure in my opinion, the absolute hardest part about doing it this style. It is so lonely. And like the people who you might call on the phone or something back home, like my partner, my friends, or they just, there's it's just hard on them too because I'm not the community and the people to lean on with like a through hike or ultra running, even with the races. That's such a huge part of it and such a huge part of what makes you able, at least in my experience, to keep going. So when you don't have that element, it is really hard to manage your emotions and to manage like the loneliness of that. I should look into what Jeff has to say about like how he's able to reset, every 3 hours or something, or just like the tactics to use for that. Like somebody I think could be really successful at this kind of self-supported thing if they're like meditation person or somebody who's like very I don't know, just like in tune with their emotions and able to be really calm and centered, because it's really easy to just get totally lost and without people to lean on. It is really difficult.
So I heard this quote, like, in order to find yourself, you must lose yourself. And I think being out on the trail and like you just said, you get totally lost. You must have found yourself again to get through those moments, because like it's not the mental piece that stopped you out there. It was a physical foot infection. So how did you manage those times when you felt lost? Did you contact someone, or did you have a mantra, or what did you do like when you just felt totally like mentally weak, you could say?
Yeah, like in the most low moments, I had to either like talk to somebody that was hiking, like try to find somebody else to get out of my own way, really, or to call somebody who I love back home. I think it one of the things that is hard is that you do like, at least for me, I would get really self-involved and feel so bad for myself about how hard it is. But there's nobody. So when you can get yourself invested in somebody else's hike, or you can get to understanding somebody else's experience back home, or just have somebody hear you out and listen to you, that is the thing that would be able to let me keep going, because I can't do anything totally by myself. Like if I wasn't able to contact people back home, or I didn't have a phone, or there were no other hikers on the trail, I definitely couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's always for me about leaning on somebody else, or just getting someone, even the people with the, like I was mentioning, the people with the hostels or the people in the AT community, reminding you about how special the trail is and how special the community is and how people are just giving of themselves constantly. That inspires me to keep going too.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think, because like like mobile phones are a big part of everyone's life now. But I'm 48, so I was in like half of my, or some of my life was in the world without mobile phones. And you know, I know people did the trail before mobile phones were around, so I reckon you could do it. It'd just be totally different. But yeah, I think you're being hard on yourself there, saying you couldn't do it. I think you could, but
Well,
it's
I
just
just even when people didn't, I know, I guess people have done all kinds of long hikes, like
yeah.
without any person there, but even still, that you got to lean on the critters around you or the trees or something, like some kind of higher power, some kind of sense of community. I feel like that's an important thing.
Yeah, a lot of tree hugging, yeah, along the way. So, you know what? There's another logistical thing. I guess we just got like 5 minutes here. Have you got another 5 minutes? Are you okay?
Sure, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, like, how did you charge in order to call loved ones, you have to have a phone, and if you have to have a charged phone. So, I'm gonna guess on your resupplies, did you mail yourself out fully charged power banks? No, how did you
No,
do it?
I heard Jeff Garmier saying that's what he did. He had a power bank for every resupply or something like that, which honestly, that's probably it's probably the best way to do it. I wouldn't even think of that. I never thought of that. That was kind of crazy to me. I would just try to spend an hour in town charging my phone, or charge. I did carry a power bank with me, so I would just try to charge those as much as I could while I was in town, just sitting there eating and trying to work on my feet or whatever I was doing in town. But to save that time from having to sit there and charge up the thing, um, yeah, you'd probably send power banks, which sounds so ridiculous to send a new power bank every box, but I guess that's probably the most efficient way to do it. But yeah, I would just sit there and charge the stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Um, is there anything that like I didn't ask you about that you want to share? You know, like about your through hike, last year's hike or this year's hike at all? Something that was like fun that you wanted to talk about that I didn't even touch on, you know?
Something fun, did you say?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Have you got any cool stories or anything?
Oh, I don't even know. I guess just no, I just think the Appalachian Trail is such a special place, just a special place in the world. I know you know that too. Just the mountains, they're so old and the community is so deep and the for me like the growing I grew up in Pennsylvania, lived in Virginia for a while, live in North Carolina now, so the whole corridor feels like home to me. I just think everybody who's out there is just it's just the people that you meet every time, even doing something like this where you're alone a lot of the time. The most memorable things for me were like the days where I got to like hike with somebody for a little bit and I learned a little about their story or so as much as yeah, as much as I can like connect with the AT community doing it, like that's the inspirational part.